And it's easy on Thanksgiving, I think, to look at the things you have, right? Your friends, your prosperity, your home, the love you have in your life, whatever it is, and to be grateful for the abundance that you have and the food on the table, of course. But I had just gone through a whole sort of transformation of my life where I had gotten sober and I'd started practicing meditation and yoga and all this stuff. And something really landed on me that sort of shifted the way I think about gratitude and Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And this thing that happened was I decided that that year I was going to be grateful for the stupid things I had done. I was going to be grateful for my mistakes. I was going to be grateful for all the really dumb things I did when I was drinking and smoking. And I was going to be grateful for the moments in my life that it seemed like I screwed everything up. Because I reasoned if I was grateful for those things, well, the reason I would be grateful for those things is because without them, I wouldn't have been where I was that day. I wouldn't have been sober. I wouldn't have been practicing meditation and yoga. I wouldn't have been exploring hypnosis and all these other things and really getting on this path of learning how to be a much more happy person instead of the cynic that I was. And so every year, we do this now. Every year, we look at the things that, maybe went wrong this year, the mistakes we made, and we'll go, I'm grateful for those things. Grateful for the heartbreaks. Grateful for the mess ups. Grateful for the bumps in the road.
Well, we don't have heartbreaks anymore.
Well, no, not us, but I mean, in general.
Well, what I think is so interesting about that, because I remember the first time we hosted Thanksgiving together as a couple. And instead of starting as the host and going around the table, you kind of started off saying, look, this is what I do every Thanksgiving. And so instead of doing this like the normal way, we're going to do it, if you don't mind, I would like everybody to start sharing all of their mess ups and their mistakes. And what I find there's a couple things I find interesting about that, because, I have a lot of friends that are powerful female coaches in all kinds of industries, coaching businesses and coaching about love and coaching about self-worth and self-love and all of and art, creativity and artistry. And I remember once around the holidays, all of us ladies got together and I shared your little Thanksgiving ritual, right? I shared it's now our ritual. And it was so funny because one of those coaches was hosting an event that was coming up. And because we all started one-upping each other about the really big mistakes, like all of these like powerhouse ladies that were sitting there like, well, I screwed this up and I screwed that up. Well, I blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, this guy I co-wrote a book with went to jail. It was just like crazy stuff. And I remember thinking, wow. And then later, one of those ladies was like, I put that in my event that was right around the corner.
Cool. I don't think you ever told me this.
Yeah. I think you probably figured out who I was talking about a little bit there. I'll tell you later all the deets because I don't have their permission to share, so I'm not going to say who was there. But I think when we think about love, we think about this thing that's going to magically just happen one day. And if it doesn't happen, well, it wasn't meant to be. But if it does happen, it was meant to be. I mean, there's all of this. I don't understand the meant to be. It kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who we are, hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters. And this is Love Intervention. We are here to intervene in your love life and get you out of that heartbreak and onto the path of long-lasting, soul-satisfying love.
Yes, so we're here to intervene in a good way, I like to say. Maybe you need a love intervention because you don't have to hit bottom when it comes to love before you turn your love life around.
Well, I want to talk about this practice in love because I think it's really important. And it's actually the basis of one of the most important processes we do with our clients, which is because oftentimes we get stuck. I know for me, I had 10 years of regret from one particular relationship.
Ooh, yeah.
Where I just was
that got away.
The one that got away. I was just like beating myself up every year. It's like, oh, I can't believe it, And I think a lot of us do that. We make a mistake in a relationship and it doesn't work out and we blame ourselves and then we beat ourselves up over and over and over again about it. And instead, what if you could look at that situation and be grateful for it? Because without it, you wouldn't have learned something. You wouldn't have grown in some way. I mean, I'm really grateful for the woman I dated just before you.
I'm grateful for her too.
Because without her, it was a crazy, dramatic roller coaster. Without her, I wouldn't have been ready for you when you showed up.
Well, I'm grateful for her because she made me look so good. She really did. And I think when people, I think a lot of people, I don't know about you all listening out there today, but I'm sure there's got a couple of you in the group must do this, that you think everything in your life will be as it is plus another person. And I think the thing about being grateful for what you have basically tells whatever your higher power, God, Goddess, universe, Moses, Jesus, I don't care what you call that higher power. But when you have gratitude for what you have, then the universe will bring you more. And the thing about being grateful for what you have, it opens that door to allow in more of what you want. And the other part of that equation is that your life won't be like it is when you're with your beloved. It just won't, because that person is a completely different person than you are. And so your life won't be just like it is plus this other person, or it won't be that that person fixes every part of your life. I know that for a long time, I thought somebody would come along and sort of fill the hole inside of me, because I felt like there was a black hole inside of me for so long that I couldn't fill. So I was hoping someone else would come along and fill it. And I was very unhappy and I was miserable and I was trying to make everybody in my life happy. And my revelation and transformation sort of began when I had this realization that the only person I really had to make happy was myself.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And I started a gratitude practice in my teens. When I was in college, I used to make my schedule to be home at 3:00 to watch Oprah on ABC. Whether you're a fan or not, I got to say, I was pretty dedicated early on. And so I'd make sure that at 3:00 I had enough time to get home, watch the show, and then get back to campus for another class. So I either ended my day early or I came home and then went back. But I always made sure to be home to watch Oprah. And I read a lot of the books that she recommended and had authors on. And there was one day she had this author of this book. It was really simple. I still remember it was a hardback book. It was kind of like a page a day. It had this like pink ribbon to mark the day. It was super girly. It was like super pink and girly, which was not my thing at all. I grew up with brothers and I very much rejected playing with dolls and all the traditional sort of girly stuff. But I bought this hardcover girly book and it was called Simple Abundance. And she had a lot of different rituals and practices. And the one that I still do today is she said this was on one of those page a day things about gratitude. And it was about starting a gratitude practice and writing down every night 5 things that you're grateful for. So I've been doing that practice well over 30 years. I probably started around 18, 19 years old or something. And I'm 56 today. So do the math. It's been a long time. And everybody that knows me, all my friends know me, even from when I'd spend the night or they'd spend the night at my place, when you're doing that as you're growing up. And before I turn out the light, I'd always turn to the friend or friends and I'd say, what are 5 things that you're grateful for? And I know when you and I started dating and started spending the night together, I'd say 5 things. And you'd be like, oh gosh, I forgot to do that without you. Do you remember? Like it started to be this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been a long time that I haven't actually written them in a gratitude journal. I did for years keep an actual journal, but then I started just saying it aloud.
Yeah.
You and I say it aloud every night to one another.
Yes.
And some of those things stay the same. I got to say it. You are often on our grateful list at night. We say we're so grateful for our community and we're grateful for all of our clients, past, present, and the future. And the thing about gratitude opens the door for you to get all the things that you really want. And if you're doubting us, I dare you, I triple dog dare you as a coach to try it out, to run the experiment of starting to be grateful. I mean, I remember for years my car was on that list. I'm so grateful my car got me from A to B and back to A again. Because I had this car that, oh my God, it was like a boyfriend that kept cheating on me, man. That thing would break down. I put more money in it. It was so cute. It was this little convertible. And every time, my mechanic's like, oh, here we go, and he'd give it back to me. And he'd say, oh, I don't know, maybe you want to get a new car. And I was like, oh, I don't know, that's so cute. You just fixed her. It's like, you're so cute. And I just kept, throwing money in and throwing money in. Eventually, I did get rid of the car.
Yeah.
Actually, you had a similar car
I did.
when I met you.
I did. And I remember when I went to pick you up at your mechanics and he's like, it's back. The car's back.
Yeah. And yours was as much of a nightmare, if I remember, or pretty close.
Yeah, exactly. We won't mention the brand because we're
won't.
not about
We're
that,
not
but there's a
gonna bash
particular
a
brand of cars.
We're all about love here, so we're
Yeah.
not going to tell you the make or model of the car. But let's just say cute
convertible. Car,
yeah.
But it breaks down all the time. So
yeah.
I love this 5 things. I read an article today where people were talking about a gratitude jar, where for a year you write a note every day and stick it in the gratitude jar. I like that. Ultimately, it's about developing this belief system, this feeling that everything in your life is happening for a reason, for a good reason for you, if you look at it in the right way, if you bring the right attitude towards it. And so you can be grateful for anything. You can be grateful for good things, bad things, whatever things, right?
I mean, I'm grateful for all of those guys who broke up with me, because there's no way I'd be doing this work right now if I hadn't had all of those heartbreak experiences. I mean, I really relate to all the heartbreak stories that we hear from our clients. I really relate to everybody asking about, wow, when is it ever going to happen for me? And I've asked Matthew many times, I say, please don't wait until I'm over 40. Like, that's a long time to make me wait. Like, in our next life, please don't make me wait this long. And I want to say to all of you that it's never too late to find the love of your life. And whenever it does happen, you will be so grateful. You won't be upset about it.
Right.
But it's never too late. We spoke with a past client today, this morning. She turned 80.
So great. She turned 80
in May,
and she's with an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And
they've been together like 3 years.
They've been together 3 years. I mean, see, this is the thing. You can find companionship at any time in your life. And more than companionship, she really found a soulmate with this guy.
Yeah, she told us a lot of really sweet stories about them together. And I know that when they first got together, I would say, are you having sex? And she was like, oh, Lauren, and she'd kind of blush. And I was like, oh, come on, I want to know, because she was in her 70s, obviously. She just turned 80. But the big 80, she says that she's slowing down. I don't really believe her. She's like, oh, I pace things a little differently. She's just got a bundle of energy. And I love that she, signed up for our coaching in her 70s. She said, nope, this is the thing that I want to do. And that's the thing, that we're really here to bust this myth that love is supposed to happen by accident. So tonight's love intervention is to say, hey, time out. We want to intervene here and say, this is a time of developing those practices and those rituals that open you to bring in a beloved relationship. And that doesn't mean that those practices go away once you have a beloved relationship. It actually means you have to strengthen them within the confines of the relationship. Yeah. And that's why I still do the gratitude practice every night for over 15 years with Matthew, because when we only make effort to have something when it's not present, then we stop taking the actions that brought us into alignment with having that. And I think a lot of times when we start working with a client, they go, well, how long do I have to do this for? Like, once I have my guy? And we're like, oh, these are practices and rituals that are about your relationship with yourself.
You do them for the rest of your life. You don't just, oh, I have the thing, now I can relax and sit on the couch and watch TV and eat bonbons all day.
Yes.
You have to do those things every day. It's putting deposits into your bank so that when difficult situations arise or difficult times come, that you have a savings account, an energetic savings account with which to draw upon.
Yeah. So let's draw it on like a timeline, right? So it's like, here you are in the present moment. It's 11/22/22. So it's an 11, a double 11, and another double 11. So I thought, well, we do this every other week, but what a magical day, 11/22/22, to be doing this love intervention with you tonight. So today on 11/22/22, I would love it if you would start typing, just type in one thing you're grateful for right now, that you're grateful for today. It could be something about yourself. I'm often grateful for my tenacity, right? Or I'm grateful for my creativity or whatever. So it could be a quality that you have. It could be a possession that you have. It could be your pet. It could be your home. It could be your car. It could be your job, your career. It could be your friends, your family. But why don't you type in something, just pick something that you'd like to share that you're grateful for. I think as a community, it's important to share. So let's put it on a timeline. So if today you start being grateful, just pick one thing. Maybe tomorrow you can come up with two, and maybe the next day you can come up with three. And so as you start to notice the things that you're grateful for, you're actually gassing up your happiness. We're going to be talking a lot more about happiness as we go through the end of this year and into the beginning of next year. That's a wink. Stay tuned for more from us about happiness. Because when you're grateful, you will be more joyful. And when you're happy and joyful, guess what? That's attractive. That's sexy. When you meet somebody who's really just got a pep in their step and they're just really
somebody who's
chugging
positive,
along.
who's happy, who's got good energy, it's very attractive. And so fostering that is going to help you in your journey to love. So Angela writes that she's grateful for her health. Stephanie says she's grateful for her brother's healing and mental well-being. Wonderful. We send healing energy out.
Yes.
Prayers for health.
For health and well-being for all of you that are listening. And the thing is when we do this, like we really, like I always connect, we have a ritual when we begin. And it's like I feel the love in my heart, and then I grow it to include Matthew and myself. I know he does the same. And then we grow it out to our community. We grow it out to our team that's helping us right now. We're so grateful. Thank you, team. We're grateful. And then we start sending it out to all of you. And so it's like a little message from our heart to yours to call you in to say, hey, we get it. Like sometimes dating sucks, and sometimes dating through the holidays and being single can suck. And sometimes I talk to women in particular, I talk to men too, that are saying, well, my life is fine. I mean, I don't even know if I want somebody. I'm really happy right now being single. And I think, oh my gosh, that is the best time to look for a beloved soulmate relationship. The time to look for a beloved soulmate relationship isn't when you think 1 + 1 = 1. Right? This Jerry Maguire myth that someone's going to come along and complete you is actually a myth, and it's doing damage, because when you take action to create the love you want, you're now in that driver's seat instead of thinking, oh, I have to get love, from this one person. Like I have to get love from Bob. And if I don't get Bob to love me, I must somehow be unlovable, or I miss my chance, or whatever. Love does not come to you from a specific person. So we have a ritual when we begin any client session where we say it is the love. We do a grounding exercise, and we say it is the love you have for yourself that is reflected back to you through the eyes of your beloved. That's right, through your eyes. Because you don't get love, right? No one can give you love. No one can fill that space like the way I used to feel when I was younger, this empty space inside. I just really want you to understand that growing that love inside of you doesn't mean that there aren't going to be things that bug you about yourself. Like that's an unrealistic expectation. Yeah. Like there are still plenty of things that bug me about myself, and I'm very happily married. So it's not that you have to have some unrealistic expectation of who you are in the world. Instead, you have to be okay with your humanness. And when you start a gratitude practice and you start being grateful instead of beating yourself up about those little things that bug you about yourself, and you start to really grow this generosity of spirit where you feel good about yourself, that spills over into your dating life. It spills over into your most intimate relationships. I know at one point when I was working in the music industry, and I really have been doing just a lot of work on myself, and I was just so happy, and I was still single. And I remember my boss, just one day we were having a meeting, and he just looks up at me and he says, I don't know. I can't define exactly what you have, but I want some. And I was like, what? And he's like, I want some. You're like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't, like, we're not having a great day here. Like, there's a lot of work to do. And you're just like humming along. Like, it's almost like I can hear you humming, even though it's not audible. It's like, what's going on? And we did. We had like 3 bands going on the road, and I'm, neck deep in paperwork and tour books I have to make. And I was like, okay, I'll get that done. Okay, I'll get that done. And I was just humming along.
I love that.
That's what I mean about that. Gratitude brings you more joy and happiness, and that joy and happiness spills over, and you're energetically more attractive, more open, more yummy, more sexy.
I like it. So the thing is, hear this, bubbling energy of warmth and joy and positivity, you know, and I talk about my gratitude practice and we talk about joy and happiness. But the thing is, I used to be the biggest cynic in the world. I used to, I jokingly say when I was in my early 20s, I was a raving atheist. And all of that can change. You can change if you're in a funk, if you're feeling negative, if you're feeling, like "Ugh, it's not going to work out. And why are these people talking this way? It's such BS, right? If you have that voice in your head, just know that voice is trying to keep you safe. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you where you are because that's what it wants. It doesn't want things to change. And you can fight through that. You can actually get to the other side and get to a place where you feel good about yourself, you feel good about your life, whatever the circumstances are. It doesn't have to be that everything's going, amazing and that you've got all this money in the bank and the love of your life next to you to be happy. Because if you're looking for external things to find that happiness and joy, you're just going to be frustrated. And before I go any further, one, I want to say Terry says she's grateful for her children and her fur baby, and we love that. And two, why don't we remind people what we're doing here?
Hello, everyone. I'm Orna Walters.
And I am Matthew Walters.
And this is a love intervention.
That's right. We're here to intervene in your love life to get you off the path of heartbreak and back onto the journey of the long-lasting, soul-satisfying love that you desire.
So we're grateful for our team today who's helping us. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can, give us a reaction, a like, a love, and in the comments there, you can put your questions right there because they'll port them over here where we are in Vimeo.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell them what to do in YouTube?
In YouTube, you're going to click the bell to subscribe. You can also, once again, put your comments in the comments section, put your questions there. They will be ported over here so that everybody will get to hear them and see them. And
we're going to start answering your questions. I can't help myself, though. I had to sit on my hands because you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt. We're getting better about that.
Okay.
So I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, I have a coaching challenge. I have a coaching challenge for all you cynics out there. They're like, oh, Orna and Matthew talking about how happy they are. And so I'm going to tell you something. Here is your coach's challenge from a recovering two cynics.
Yeah.
Two recovering cynics. Let's make that grammatically correct.
Sure.
I speak good. So here's your challenge. Did I forget what I was going to say?
You must have. I don't know what the challenge is.
Oh, menopause brain. I'm going to think of it. It's a challenge to run the experiment. I said it already.
Okay.
You're going to run the experiment. So think of one thing that you're grateful for today. And then tomorrow think of 2, and the next day 3, and the next day 4, and the next day 5, and then keep up with 5. And if you really want to do this right and you're an overachiever and you want a gold star, I want you to actually get a blank journal book. And it doesn't have to start with today. If you get it 3 days from now, that works too. Black Friday sale, whatever. Just go ahead and start writing out those 5 things every night. So you can start off just by listing them, but find somewhere. Don't do it on a device. Put pen to paper and write it out. Write it out right there and come back to us. Do this for 40 days without skipping. Once you get to 5 things every night, 40 days. I'm going to put our email address right into the chat. And after 40 days, without skipping, if you skip a day, you have to start back at 1. Yep, they have to be 40 days in a row. I want to hear how things changed. Because you will be filled with more joy. I promise you more opportunities will come to you when you're like, oh, right? So change, if you want to have those negative and cynical thoughts alongside your gratitude things, that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. You don't have
to
with it. Change everything overnight. It's not like you're going to suddenly
just
walk
do
around
this one thing.
Being this bundle of joy and happiness every moment of your day. I would say I'm not. Most of the time I'm just dealing with life and dealing with the stuff around me.
One thing.
But having these practices helps you get over the humps a lot easier. They don't become brick walls. They're just like little speed bumps that you're like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. And then you get past it and you keep going and you feel good again.
Yes.
40 days is January 1. What a beautiful challenge. Thank you, Stephanie, for letting us know.
40 is that magic number.
What a great way to end the year.
What a great way to end the year. And you know what? If you make it all the way to 40 and you're still feeling great and you notice all those great opportunities, hello, why would you stop? I've been doing this since I was like 18, 19 years. I wish I knew when I started. I don't know. I threw all my journal books away. That's another story for another day, but I'll just quickly tell you at some point in my adulthood, I realized I only journaled when I was depressed and I chucked them.
What's the point of revisiting all of that?
I gave that up. So I gave it up. All right. We're going to take, I think, Jack, you want to just start at the top?
Yeah. Looks like...
I can let you read it because I don't have my glasses
Janae
on.
says, I've done so much work on myself.
Jean? I think that's Jean.
Okay. I've done so much work on myself and I'm still single. I see many other people who are not the most enlightened and they are married and happy. So what's the deal? I've tried everything and nothing seems to bring me my guy.
Ouch. I know this one. Oh, it hurts. It hurts my heart. Jean, you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go for it.
Okay. Here's the deal. You are not walking in anyone else's shoes. You only have Jean's shoes to walk in. So you cannot judge your path by looking at someone else's path.
Nope.
And all of this, so much work on myself, because we hear this a lot. And I don't mean to make air quotes to belittle the work you've done on yourself, but the reality is that you have to be doing the right work. So I know for me, part of why we do this work and why we will always coach our clients, and even though almost every business coach we've hired tells us we should stop doing private coaching and only do the group stuff because it's a waste of time to only help one person at a time. We'll never stop ever doing private coaching. And that's because people have told us things they've never said aloud to another person in private coaching. And we always want to be able to serve every kind of person. And so we will always have both available, group coaching and private coaching. But the inner work, it's not that what you've been doing isn't working. It's that it will be cobbled together unless you want to work with somebody that's taking that 40,000 foot view of your soul's journey where they can see your life purpose arenas and your life lesson arenas, and then look at how your circumstances from childhood sort of shaped your belief system about love.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that framework with someone, like let's say it was us, you want to work over a consistent period of time because a real transformation doesn't happen in an instant. I can never snap very well. In an instant. I just want to be able to, like those people, in an instant, and there's a big old snap.
Yeah,
right?
That was pretty good.
That was all right. Right? And it doesn't. Like think about a caterpillar into a butterfly. It doesn't suddenly one day it's a caterpillar and the next day it's a butterfly. Like that just doesn't happen that way. It happens over a condensed period of time. So if you're looking for that kind of inner transformation, guess what? The email's already in the chat. support@loveonpurpose.com. Say, hey, I want an inner transformation. We have a lot of different ways you can do it. We're going to share something really special at the end. I'm going to give you a chance.
Okay.
But I'm going to just say stick around to the end because we're going to do something a little different at the end today.
So the thing is, the inner transformation is the real transformation that you need. The outer transformation's much less important. The clothes you're wearing, your haircut, your online profile. I mean, there are definitely things you can do to make all those more effective, and they're helpful. And, better dating strategies and things like that. Those are all helpful. But if the inner stuff isn't in alignment, it's not going to get you the results you want. You're going to feel frustrated. I mean, we tend to work with the hard cases. We tend to work with the people who said, look, I've done everything. I've tried everything and I am still stuck. Right? I've done it all and nothing seems to work. So what's going to be different? And that's the key, is getting into, I'm going to say it this way. We have put it together in a system, right? Everything we do is leading you to a very specific result. And it's done in a particular order and it's done in a particular way. Now it's modified depending on each person because it's specific to you. But there is a journey that you go on, and that journey is important. And it's the journey that we went on. We want you to understand that this all came from the work we did on ourselves. And we said, wow, I did that, and that was fun, but nothing changed. Wow, I did that, and I saw big results right away. And so we put all of our skill set together, and we created this system. I don't want to get too much into selling us today, because that's not why we're here.
No.
But if you're interested, like Orna said, support at Love on Purpose. And Jean, I would just say, like Orna said, you got to put blinders on like a horse and stop looking at everybody around you.
Stop comparing.
Because it's not a competition. It's a marathon in which you're racing against yourself. And so you just got to say, am I better today than I was yesterday? Am I closer today than I was yesterday? That's the only question worth asking.
I love that.
Yeah.
You summed that up quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to read Sarah's, our next question.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say one more time. Hi, everybody. I am Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters, and this is Love Intervention. We are here to intervene in your love life, get you off the path of heartbreak.
To soul-satisfying, long-lasting love. Kind of what we got going on here. I mean, we spend hours together every day of the week, every day, every month, every year. My husband doesn't get a break because of COVID anymore. I'm around all the time. I used to disappear a few nights a week, go to hang out with my girlfriends. I haven't done that in years. We don't go anywhere. We're just we're home together. I'm teasing. You don't want a break with me, do you?
No.
Oh, good. I like that. Sarah asks, we're here to take your questions. You can put them in YouTube in the comments, Facebook in the comments. We're going to have a team member out there scurrying around like a little squirrel, collecting them like nuts and putting them over here in video where we can see them. And if you're right here on our live feed, then go ahead and put your question right in there. We're going to answer as many questions as we can before we hit the top of the hour. Sarah says, I just broke up with my boyfriend of almost 3 years. I couldn't go through another holiday season with him. He's nice, we get along, but he's just not the spiritual guy I thought I'd be with for life. My spiritual side has saved my sanity and my life. He just doesn't seem to care about any of that stuff. Now that it's been a few weeks, I think I made a mistake. Yet I was so sure when I broke up with him. Any advice for me? I'm going to let you take that.
This is an interesting question. I oftentimes think that we get confused in that we're looking for somebody who's like a mirror image of ourselves. They have to like all the same things we like. They have to believe all the same things we believe. And we do everything together. We do it all together. And that's great. But I think that that's an unrealistic expectation. I think if you're thinking you're looking for a mirror image of yourself, then you're setting yourself up for a lot of frustration and disappointment. Now, Orna and I share a lot of things in common. We also share a lot of things that are not in common.
That we don't share them.
We also have a lot of things we don't share because they're not the same. They're not in common. But what's really important is a values match. And I want to ask you to think about something, Sarah. I want you to think about how your boyfriend responded to your spiritual stuff. Did he just let you have your space and do your thing? Did he kind of chuckle under his breath and I can't believe
scoff
that?
About
Did he scoff about it? Did he openly make fun of it or criticize it?
Or was he open? Did he try it out? Was he curious?
Well, it sounds like he didn't try it out and he wasn't curious. So I think that's probably not part of it. But I think if he let you do your thing and respected you doing your thing, even though he didn't want to do it as with you, then maybe you've been asking a little too much there.
I also think women have this misunderstanding about the way, I think women have a particular way of doing personal growth, spiritual work, and that they think a guy is going to do it in the same way. And I know through the years, Matthew was part of a men's group when I met him. He's been in different men's groups and all the time we've been together. And those guys, I don't know, it's kind of like Fight Club, so I don't really know what they do.
I just
what
got to say,
in Fight Club stays in Fight Club.
Steel sharpens steel. That's all I got to say about it.
It sounds like a little Game of Thrones there. Is it Valerian steel? I don't know. But ladies, if you're wondering what I'm talking about here, or the ladies listening tonight, I want you to have this understanding that just because your guy doesn't do personal growth the way you do doesn't mean he won't do it. And just because he doesn't do spirituality the way you do it doesn't mean he doesn't do it. So, we know somebody who is an author. She's a writer. She's written many books. And her writing is her spiritual practice. And you might think that's weird because it's also her vocation. But her vocation is her spiritual practice. My vocation is my activism. It's like I've always been an activist. I've always wanted to make the world a better place, and I've taken a stand in a lot of different ways as an activist. And I had to sort of take my activism and put it under the umbrella of my vocation. So just because you're with someone in a romantic relationship doesn't mean that they will do the things that you're doing, but they might have that value that's important to them, in which the value is the same. So if the execution is different, but the value is there, then that relationship can really shine and thrive. It's when we have the unrealistic expectation that they're going to execute on that value in the same way. That's where conflict happens. That's where that tug of war occurs. So I know we're digging really deep here on Love Intervention tonight, because that's kind of a deep concept. But since you brought up the values match, I think it's important, because we started saying a values match like 12 years ago, and now every dating coach says, "Oh, you need a values match," but most of them don't understand
what that means.
That digging into what that really means around that, because we have a very specific understanding of what that means, and we want you to understand that it could work for you guys if you're a values match. But if you have that unrealistic expectation where the execution is the same, that's like the thorn that's sort of you're insisting be similar. And that can be a really unrealistic expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I would just say this last thing. If you guys are having a lot of conflict about it, then maybe it was a good reason to break up. But if it's just something you're like, oh, I wish, and you feel it missing, and so you left looking for greener pastures, that might be something to re-examine. What are you looking for?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Oh, Joey gave us a compliment. Thanks, Joey. I don't know. The minute I say Joey, I'm picturing Joey from Friends. So how you doing? Thank you.
Joey?
We're grateful for you being here. Thank you for your sweet comment. I'm gonna let you pick one.
Let's go. let's just.
You want to do them in order?
Stick them in order. I don't know if I like that one. I'm gonna skip that one.
That's why I started skipping.
So Rachel says, so all my friends are married. The wedding slowed down a bit with COVID, but now they're all back on. I find myself going to wedding after wedding after wedding. Now my BFF is expecting her first child. Our kids were. Where are you going? Our kids were supposed to grow up together. I'm mad, and I know I'm a catch. Okay. So why am I alone? I feel like I missed the memo or something. Help.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were reading the one down there.
I
was trying to help, but I was screwing it up. Rachel. Wow. Okay. She has the I'm late for a very important date.
Yeah, I missed the memo.
I missed it. I didn't get the memo.
Everybody else has got.
Everyone got the memo, but you.
Look, you're not behind. We didn't meet until we were 40. She was over 40. I was just turning 40 when we got together. So there's no time limit. We talked to our client today who is turned 80 in May, and she's been with an amazing guy for 3 years.
After
77, right?
Yeah.
After working with us. So 77, she met this guy.
So Rachel didn't happen until 77.
Not that you have to wait that long.
But Rachel, it's different. I just want to address what she's saying. Because she clearly wants to have a family. And all of her friends are getting married, and now her BFF is pregnant. And that's hard when you're like, oh my gosh, they're moving on without me, right? Mm-hmm. That feeling like the ship has left the harbor and you're not on it. And that's a pain that I really understand, and we hear from a lot of women. And what I want to say is that the impetus for the things that you want in the time that you want it, your timing is being based on an exterior pressure. Mm-hmm. And when you put that unnecessary pressure, like you have to get it done, your selection process ends up being off. We had a client we started working with at the beginning of the year, very much different circumstances, but a similar clock. And she was like freaking out. Like the life I imagine for myself is I'm getting to the place where I'm seeing that it's not going to happen. And she really had this freak out about it. And dating like that is like trying to date in a potato sack with a suit of armor on top of it. I mean, nobody can get through that energetic, I got to find, are you my person? Are you my person? Right? Like when I was a kid, I read all those Dr. Seuss books. Uh-huh. And there's this one with, I think it's a little chicken or a duck. It's a duck, I think.
I don't know.
And the book is called Are You My Mother? And like the duck, a duckling, I think, and it gets separated from its mom. And it sees this like big tractor. And it's like, are you my mother? Then it sees something else. Are you my mother? Are you my mother? And it's like desperate to find its mother. Mm-hmm. And it does find its mother because it's Dr. Seuss. And we love those things. But when you're so like, are you my guy? Are you my guy? Are you my guy? You're filtering in such a way that has a desperate energy to it, whether or not you feel desperate or not. It has that kind of thing, which is energetically a potato sack and a suit of armor. And what I want to say to you is that relaxing into your current circumstance. So I'm going to circle back to the beginning. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to a replay, either at YouTube or Facebook or here on Vimeo if you're here. Because at the beginning, we were talking about an attitude of gratitude and how to grow that. And we gave you a very specific coach's challenge for 40 days, where if you start today, Stephanie was sweet enough to say, hey, that means day 40 is January 1. Go listen to the beginning again about a gratitude practice so you can relax and be happy for what you have right now instead of looking at what you don't. When you're standing in this present moment and you're looking at your future and thinking, I haven't, I didn't, and I should have, it's almost abusive inner dialogue. It's so harsh that I classify it under an abuse, a self-abuse, because I didn't and I haven't and I should have. It's so harsh. And if you want to have love in your life, you got to love yourself exactly as you are. It doesn't mean you have to love all the parts of you, but you have to love where you are in the journey. And so stepping into this gratitude practice so that you could be thankful for what you have. So the goal is that you stand in present day. It's 11/22/22. And you look out at your glorious future. And then you turn around and you look at your past and you think to yourself, wow, I did that. Check. Wow, I did that. Check.
Yeah, look how far
wow,
I've come.
I've survived this and this. And I remember how difficult that was, and I did it. I remember overcoming this, and I did it. And it's like exercising these resilience muscles. And when we went to Yosemite in June, we officiated our friend's 30-year wedding anniversary. So we did a little, they redid their vows, and it was really special up in Yosemite where they got married 30 years ago. And I happened to be a guest at their wedding. It was the first time I was ever in Yosemite back then in the 90s. So when we were up in Yosemite, we did that very famous bucket list item that's known as the Mist Trail. And you go, it's like 2,000 feet of elevation in a very short a time. It's steep, it's hard. And I saw this, you can go up and back, or you can go up and then around, which is what we did. I don't want to go down the steep parts. But on the way, my way up and our way up, we passed a dad with 2 kids, and they were quite young. And when I saw them, I was taking a little bit of a break and stretching and just taking care of my physical body to complete this thing. And when I saw this dad with his 2 kids, and I like looked up and I said, wow, did you guys make it all the way to the top in Nevada Falls? And this girl got this big smile, these 2 girls, they got this big smiles, and they said, yeah, we did it. We're coming back. And they were so proud that they did this. And I looked at the dad and I said, wow, bravo. Like, what a great way to teach these girls resilience. Like, they'll never question being able to accomplish something. So the inner dialogue that you want to have with yourself is one of kindness and generosity and love. And that will serve you when you're later partnered up with somebody. Because if you have an unrealistic expectation of yourself to do everything perfectly, then you're going to have that, it's going to spill over to your partner. And you know what? We are by nature imperfect. So you can just get rid of that perfection thing right now from one recovering, one who's overcome perfectionism. I don't know if you can overcome it entirely, but I recalibrate myself regularly. And so I'm telling you that these are the things that really matter. How you speak to yourself is so important. So standing in present day, looking at your past, and being like really celebrating your wins and being grateful, like we started at the top. So you can listen to that again.
All right.
You have another question?
Let's see if we got one here. Oh, I like this one. Kendra. I worked with a life coach who says I have to have zero negativity in my life. She was on me to dump most of my friends, cut ties with my family, and now I feel isolated and alone. For the first time as an adult, I have no plans for Thanksgiving, and I'm afraid the same is going to happen to me over Christmas and New Year's Eve. Is she right? Does everything have to be perfect for me to find my one true love? Oh my God, that is
I'm
coaching abuse. No, that is a terrible life coach. That's terrible advice.
that
Yeah.
sounds like a narcissist. No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, because somebody who would tell you you have to get rid of all negativity, and my guess is that that person is saying that's how they overcame whatever in their life. I don't know in this modern world if it's possible to
I don't
stay
know
away from all
if it's
negativity.
possible in any world,
Yeah. Oh, at any time
at
and in
any
history.
time. I
I like
mean,
that.
I don't
But I'm
know.
saying the only reason somebody will want to alienate you from other people is so they can control you. And that's actually what narcissists do is they isolate you from other people. So I mean, I'm not gonna armchair psychology, I'm not gonna diagnose this other coach. I don't know who it is. But this is very dangerous territory. It does sound like coaching abuse. If anything anybody ever tells you to do feels off, like it's not healthy for you, and it's different between it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Because we do challenge our clients all the time to do things that aren't comfortable, but we're not alienating them from people. As a matter of fact, our goal, and we always say practice because bringing in a beloved relationship is about creating connection.
Hmm.
And the way, like our connection toolbox that we teach for our clients, we teach them this connection toolbox, and you get to practice it with all kinds of people. And so you're creating deeper connections with your friends and your family. It's not cutting people off. You're actually creating deeper connections. We say run the experiment,
Yeah, I would say
try
this,
it out.
Kendra, you need to go and reach out to some of those friends or some of your family members and ones that you feel you can
Yeah.
trust and, just say, look, I made some mistakes. I want to reconnect because there's no reason to cut ties off with people. Now, if people were toxic and they weren't healthy to be around, well, it makes sense to, maybe ice, not cut them off, but maybe create some space,
Yeah,
create a little
distance.
distance.
Yeah.
Maybe don't share, all the intricacies of your life with that person if they're not somebody who's going to be supportive of you. However, isolating yourself is not healthy.
It
We're human beings are meant to create connection. We're meant to feel connected to other people. Even us introverts, like to feel connected to other people. Just because at times we don't want to be around them, it's a different thing.
I'm going to just say one last thing that certainly you might have a toxic person in your life or maybe two toxic people in your life that you need to distance yourself from. And that doesn't mean cutting all ties. But there's no possible way you can all of your friends and family are all somehow part of this toxic system or something. It's very dangerous what this coach is implying here. So to answer your question, because you said, does everything have to be perfect for me to find my one true love? So first off, you have more than one true love. I know, shocker, right? You don't have to scour the earth and find one person that's meant for
Mm-hmm.
you. And maybe, you're in Illinois, in Chicago, let's say, and that other person is in Paris, and you got to hope that you connect somehow. There's not a one true love. So when you grow love and confidence from within you, you can see and evaluate who's an ideal match for you. And a lot of people can be an ideal match. I mean, when I started dating Matthew, I was hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also knew if it didn't work out with Matthew that I was going to be okay. And so we want you to understand that you don't have to have perfection for anything. I know we have a little bit of time. We have a couple more questions, but I'm going to tell a little story.
Okay.
I wish we had some storybook music. Okay. So I had a friend who taught me how to knit. And, there's two stitches. If you don't know, there's the knit stitch and purl stitch, right? So knit and purl. And he taught me, and I started a pattern, and I was making a scarf because it's usually the first thing you make because it's easy. And then I got to the end, and I said, okay, I'm ready. Show me how to cast off. And he said, oh, I need you to miss stitch first.
All right.
That's what my face looked like. My face looked like, what the what? You want me to miss stitch? The horror. I said, I just spent all this time making sure it was perfect. And he goes, yeah, you're going to miss stitch. And then I'll explain. And then I'll show you how to cast off. And I very begrudgingly did another row and broke the pattern and did a miss stitch. It wasn't perfect. And then he showed me how to cast off. And then he says to me, look, my friend taught me how to knit who's Native American. And she did the same thing to me. And I was horrified when she told me to miss stitch. And my face looked like yours. And she said that means it was made by hand because human beings are imperfect. Only machines can be perfect. Now, we all know machines and technology all break down too, right? But the idea that human beings need to be perfect for anything is an unrealistic expectation. It's a bar that's set too high. So get rid of this whole theme tonight. See, we started with gratitude, but we ended up on perfection somehow.
Perfectionism. Yeah.
Perfectionism is like a death to your happiness. So Matthew and I make mistakes all the time. I mean, I don't want anybody here to think that we somehow have some idyllic life or there's never a miscommunication or there's never a conflict or a disagreement. And if anybody's telling you that that's their romantic relationship,
they're lying.
They're either lying or they sweep under the rug and they don't talk about the things that they would fight about. And so
not a good strategy.
It's not, because that's that, we grew apart, right? It's hard to manage that for a lifetime, because to us, those are landmines. If you don't clean it up, now that's a landmine one of us can stumble into. And oh my gosh. So I want you all to understand, let go of that perfectionism and breathe in, feel in, take in, start this gratitude practice we talked about at the beginning. Please, please, please. I hope a lot of you do it. I hope you do it, because it's one of those things that will serve you for the rest of your life.
Okay. So we have a question from Stephanie, which is really sweet of Stephanie, because she didn't realize she just teed up something we wanted to share today. So Stephanie says, when you guys coach people about limiting beliefs from childhood, do you do mirror work and or inner child work? I'm not sure what mirror work is, so I would say we don't do that. We do a form of inner child work that we created.
So I don't know if it's
what you're thinking of or not. I know we work with the inner child. The work we do really was created by us. And it is something we're actually working with a team right now to actually give it a name, because we've discovered one of our limitations in our ability to talk about what we do is because we don't really have a name for it. That we just say it's process work. We do process work, and it's in a system, and it happens over these 3 stages, and everybody's like, okay, that's a lot, right? That sounds like a lot.
They don't understand.
They don't really understand what we're talking about. What we do is we transform you from the inside out, and that's really all that matters. The how, I think, really isn't that important. I think people get caught up on this technique or that technique. It doesn't really matter as long as it's effective. So I'm not. I think I answered your question, Stephanie.
I have something to share.
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay.
So when we talk about,
I'm
not going to skip you over. Don't worry. You're going to do the thing. That when we talk about our coaching is the understanding that it was created by us based on things that we studied, that we were doing in other areas of our careers, our work, things that we experienced, that we said, this is really effective. I want to know how to do this. And things that we created out of thin air because a client needed it.
And we cobbled that all together, and then we made it into a system. So we just finished a group, we called it a virtual intensive because it's virtual, but it's not on a weekend. I mean, we used to do a lot of live workshops and retreats pre-COVID, and we haven't gone back to that, mostly because we don't want to ask people to get on a plane and travel in, because it's just people are getting sick, and we don't want to be responsible for that. We don't want that on our conscience. We don't want people getting sick, and we don't want to get sick. And the idea of sitting in front of a computer for like a weekend sounds atrocious. Like neither one of us could handle it.
Nope.
So we put our heads together a while back, and we finished this recent virtual group intensive. And at the end, a couple of particular women were like, wow, this isn't what I expected at all. I don't know if they thought it was more like Q&A, because they were coming into these love interventions regularly, but it's nothing like this. And it was funny because in the beginning of her share on that last session, she says, I don't know what to call those things, these visualizations or meditations or energetic healing. Like her brain so badly wanted to call it something that she could stick in a box. And so I think part of our resistance to naming our quote unquote process work is because then people are going to put it in a box, and it's so not in a box, because we work with each unique person. And so we figured out how to work individually in a group situation where everybody rides the coattails of everybody else's work, because the way our brains work is we highlight out in the world what is familiar to us. So if you've been around our community for any length of time, you probably know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. The boyfriend I had on New Year's Eve in '94 tried to kill me. I'm only here today because the neighbor came in and saved my life. Our door was unlocked. And I know that I found that guy irresistible because I grew up in a home full of abuse. Now, your situation doesn't have to be worse than mine or better than mine or whatever. Like, if you can't relate to that at all and you're like, wow, I wish you hadn't told me all that or something, that's okay, because I love working with this guy who's like from a normal Midwestern
come
family.
from very normal Midwestern family. My parents, were married up until my mother died in her mid-70s. They were married 57 years. Most of my siblings only one of my siblings has been divorced. The rest got married in their 20s and are still married today.
Yeah.
So, it was a relatively normal environment. Now, it had its dysfunction, and that dysfunction showed up in me in a lot of different ways, to where, I was really chasing rejection, because that's what love felt like. And so it is that mismatch between this sort of subconscious, energetic feeling of what love feels like and how we filter for love, and our conscious desire for what we say we actually want. And it is finding, I'll let you finish this. It is finding that place of how we reconcile those differences and come together, so your conscious and your subconscious are in alignment.
So I want to, and thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for, mirror. No, we don't do mirror work like that, but
we do affirmation work, but not in the mirror. You can do it in the mirror; it's effective, but we do it differently.
I mean, I would say the affirmation work we do is like 0.0001% of the work. It's a smidge in there. I did a lot of affirmation work, particularly from Louise Hay's work, so that's very meaningful to me. But I want to say it like this, because your question was so specific, that I want to really answer it in such a way that we say it like this. When you're a child in your family of origin, the events that happen, we have no way of changing those, right? We can't put you in a time machine and float you back in time and have a different event occur. However, every event that occurred, your mind assigned a meaning to those events, because our brains are literally meaning-making machines.
Mm-hmm.
And the way our mind is set up to do that is for species survival, and you're part of that species survival. So the meanings that are assigned to those past events are changeable. So if you're going to talk about how we do what we do, even though we haven't named it, I mean, if we just called it the Walters process, this is what the Walters process does. The Walters process allows you to assign a new meaning to the events of the past,
so that you feel more resourceful.
Yeah.
So that you let go of whatever fear, anger, shame, anger, sadness, hurt, shame, or guilt that you carry about those events from the past.
So I kind of teased it up a little bit earlier that we're going to end tonight a little differently. And that's because, look, I was single for many, many, many years as an adult on my own through the holidays. And that can be a trying time. So we put together another group that we're going to go through the holidays. We will take a little break over the Christmas and New Year's. I'm not putting a lot of information here, but if you're interested in the group program, you can go to the website that I've put in the chat. If you're just listening somewhere else, it's Love on Purpose Mentoring, mentoring, loveonpurposementoring.com. So www.loveonpurposementoring.com. And if you're listening to Love Intervention tonight, we had to give you a promo code. So the promo code is going to give you $100 off. It's only good for 24 hours. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got to be capital letters like that. That's promo code is the number 4, love, spelled LUV 100. And that gives you $100 off. Put that in the promo code. You can split your payments. You can look at the dates at the website. And if I'm going to tell you something, when we didn't think we were going to do a second group before the new year, we carried it over. So we're starting December 10th. We'll take a teeny break over Christmas. And everybody was going to have the opportunity to get into the love seat with us so we can do our Walters process with you in the love seat. And everybody gets to ride
You're gonna
along.
do the Walters process. The Walters process. Yes, you're going to be happy. You're going to be grateful. You're going to find love.
That was for Halloween. You should have used that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I just want to say, look, it's priced in a way that it's like bargain basement prices, because the reality is we normally, look, we don't have to get a hotel and blah, 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 and all that heavy travel. And so we just really wanted to serve as many people as possible. It's been a really trying time with a global pandemic, and there's just so much strife in the world. And so it's really our gift to do another group that starts December 10th and then goes into the new year. So if you really want to make this the year that you're going to bust through something, the goal of Love on Purpose Mentoring is for you to like, if you were going to hack down a system, right? Like if you're going to chop down a tree, you're going to need to take a few big good whacks at that before timber falls over. And that's our goal. It isn't that all your little, we're not going to work on every little tributary and this whole thing. We're going to look at your system that's blocking you for love, that's unique to you. And we're going to whack at it until it goes timber.
With love. We're going to whack love. With love. So the whacking doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. And crying is optional. I love when our clients say that. They're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And I didn't cry. They're like, crying is optional. Crying is optional here at Love on Purpose. I will tell you, there's nothing harsh. Like we were talking about that harsh inner dialogue about I haven't and I didn't and I should have. The reason why that hurts my heart so much when people come from that place is because I've had so much harsh in my life that we just don't do harsh. I mean, even when we were hosting our live events, people were shocked that we keep like bankers hours, we like it's like 9 to 5, maybe 5:30. We don't need to keep you up we need to keep you up all night and like break you down. And there's no harsh here. We just don't do any, what's the code? The code is 4, the number 4, LUV. I was like in the middle of a sentence and now I'm interrupting myself. It's the number 4, capital L, capital U, capital V, and the number 100, 100. The number 4, LUV, 100 gives you $100 off. LoveOnPurposeMentoring.com. We'd love to have you join us. So that's up there. I mean, we've already opened this up, so it's not like we have unlimited space. We're going to do a small group. It's a small virtual intensive. It's intentionally a small group. So once all the spots are gone, they're gone. We would love to have you come and see how easy it is. I literally have like one of those Staples easy buttons. And when we're done with somebody in the love seat, I always hit that easy button and everybody cracks up because it doesn't have to take you years and years and years to have this system fall away and really open yourself up to that love that you're blocked from. These are hidden blocks to love. And it's really our niche. It's our, these transformative processes. Yeah. Oh,
it's our brilliance.
It's our gift though. It's our gift for the world to do this work this way. So please come and join us. We don't put you in a hot seat. It's somebody, we had a couple of people go, well, I thought I was going to, I thought I would only get one time in the hot seat. I'm like, there's no hot seat. So
it's a love seat.
It's a love seat. We're going to love on you. We're going to love you into love. And so the work is gentle. There's nothing harsh going on. We're not going to stay on these calls aren't going to be hours and hours long. Come. You're going to get at least a minimum of 2 times in the love seat, every single participant. So that's why we limit the amount of attendees. Thanks for joining us for Love Intervention tonight. Yeah. I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters. And we're here every 2 weeks to intervene in your love life. We will be back on December 6th at the same time and same place. Thank you, Isa, and our amazing team. You guys are great. Thanks to all of you for showing up. We're grateful for every one of you in our community.
Yeah, we're so grateful.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble.